what will you miss most at Platform One? I think it really comes down to two main areas. I break it down in my mind as the people, right? And then the connection to the mission. I'm going to miss the people here, the culture. It's Platform One is really a collection of people that have become frustrated with how the DoD delivers software, and they want to make a change. So they come to Platform One wanting to make that change, and that just attracts a lot of very passionate individuals, putting in long hours, focusing on the mission, right? And so I'm going to miss the people. Love the conversations that we've had, a lot of spicy conversations, being able to trying to decide what is the right next move when there might be 10 right next moves, and you're just trying to do what's right for the warfighter and for the mission. And the second piece of this is the connectivity to the mission and how close we are to that, being able to truly execute DevSecOps, connecting with the operations aspect of things, and being able to have that meaning in what you do. I mean, many times people deliver software, but they never really understand or know how it's being used and impact that it's driving. And I think at Platform One, we just have that unique relationship with many of the warfighters that use our technology. And we're able to have those, candid conversations. Some of those are like, hey, we'd love to have this additional feature. But others are like, hey, you guys changed operations for us. You were able to deliver the capability that made the difference.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that at P1 Conference. We had the fighter pilot come out and give a conversation of literally how we shaped his mission.
I know, and when you think about it, it's little things that you would expect that in 2024 that everybody's doing and everybody would have, right? They're using Excel spreadsheet, and then all of a sudden you deliver a capability that transforms that, and I'm like, why didn't we already have that before?
Yeah, I mean, I think too, it's we're trying to tie that emotion for coders entering our ecosystem now, and just being like, this is what you guys are doing, right? Yeah. This is incredible work.
I like to call it the so what piece.
Yeah.
Right? So you're doing something, so what?
Yeah.
Right? When you get, there was a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And if you look at a lot of very successful organizations, they very clearly define why they do what they do, right? Whether it's Apple or Microsoft or even Starbucks, right? They define that, hey, Apple really wants to drive a culture. Technology is a way to get there, right? But they're focused on culture. Starbucks is all about community, right? If you look at their mission statement and why they do what they do, it's all about bringing the community together. Yeah, it's coffee, but when people that work for that organization are able to embody why they're doing what they're doing, they're just so more successful at it. Yeah. That they're able to frame the day-to-day decisions that when you're empowering your people, they have to make. They're able to frame that through why they're actually making that decision in the first place.
Yeah, so I know we're going off topic on questions now, but I'm just having this conversation. But I mean, so for Platform One's why, obviously that's a warfighter, right? That's the end. Our end game is to improve warfighter capability, warfighter software. But in that means, there's something that I'm starting to realize in terms of even just coming to things like this, right? I participate and I help out here at Industry Day. I went to Software Coalition, our cohorts and things like that. I'm realizing that P1, whether it's intentional or unintentional, is becoming that community. We're seeing it on LinkedIn, right? We continue to grow. We're continuing to see people come and flock to us and keep an eye on what we're doing. But it's partly due to software and capability, and partly due to just we're forming a really great community, a strong community at that.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Knowing why we do what we do is the starting point, and then there's a how aspect to it. Like, how do we accomplish the what? I guess there's a what, right? There's a why we do it. There's what do we need to do, and there's how we actually do it. I think the why comes down to the great power competition that we're in right now. The why behind, in my opinion, that behind any military is never to use it. We never want to go to war. And the way we accomplish that is through deterrence. And so we're in the phase right now where we are really, we're almost we're fighting the war, but through technological advancements to maintain deterrence. If there is mutual loss on both sides of a potential conflict, the chance of that conflict happening is less. If that is skewed one way or the other, then I think you have that risk calculus to a particular side is in their favor, right? Which potentially might embolden an adversary of the United States, right? So why we do what we do is we do it so we never have to go to war with an adversary, right? But we're still able to advance, United States' agenda throughout the world, right? I mean that we've always been stood for freedom, we've stood for like human rights, etc. What we're trying to do, you start narrowing it down to Platform One, and really, our niche is software. We are trying to deliver software at a speed that we're able to outpace our adversary. Software, technology, those aspects are really important. That's what we're trying to do. And then how you do it, I mean, you mentioned community. I mean, community is absolutely how we do it. And I think community, I've always framed community from the standpoint of how do we team across various entities on the commercial side, across the United States government. How do we bring those smart folks together to work on our tough problems, our toughest problem sets? I don't think any one person has the answer. I don't think any one person or even one company can scale to solve all of our problems. But I think if we come together as a team, driven by a community aspect, we can actually be successful.
What are some of the best accomplishments Platform One has made under your tenure here?
I really think we're still at the center of the software conversation of how to change and accelerate software delivery across the Air Force and Department of Defense. I think that in itself is an accomplishment. In early days, we had some really good champions in the Pentagon. We had Ms. Kossenberger, we had Nick Shalon, we had Dr. Roper. We still have Jay Bonsi, and there's been quite a significant turnover there. And being able to continue to be part of that conversation with the new leadership that's there, I think that in of itself is something to be pretty proud of. I think it's just also a testament of the forward-thinking thought leadership that's here at Platform One, and how we really just engage with anybody who would listen, that is looking to drive that change across the Department of Defense. I think it has also set us up really well for the great power competition effort that's underway to kind of restructure the Air Force for the future. I don't see a future where software isn't at the core of what the Air Force does, and Platform One is on the leading edge of that transformation.
What is one piece of unsolicited advice you would give to your incumbent?
Yeah, so I thought a lot about what would I tell myself 3.5 years ago that I would like to have known, and it's really hard to predict the future. Nobody has a crystal ball, and when we look at the future, the way we set ourselves up for success is really, it comes down to people and culture. If you've got the right people, you've got the right outlook on things, you're focusing on what matters, I think you set yourself up for an uncertain future. And I think if I had one piece of advice to give, the future me, if you will, Colonel Norris, I would say, focus on the people, focus on the culture. Culture is king. If you get that right, I think Platform One will be set up for success for no matter what comes.
What will you regret not being able to wrap up prior to your departure?
So looking back over the past 3.5 years, if I had one regret, I think it comes down to not carving out the time to roll up my sleeves and actually code. One of the things that I think all engineers have, and that's they're engineers first. It's a passion that they have. It's the reason that they became an engineer. And when you move into more of a leadership role, your day-to-day job isn't being that engineer that's on keyboard delivering the software, but it's still your passion, it's still your love, it's still what you want to do. I think P1 has a unique opportunity for everyone to be able to do that coding, and just looking back on 3.5 years that just flew by in a blink of an eye, there were many times where I'm like, hey, I'm going to set the time aside to actually, open up the laptop and write some code and do a merge request and kind of get it back into the baseline. And that time just evaporated every time, and I just wasn't able to do that. So, I'm moving into a job next that allows me to get technical again, and I think there's going to be a lot of connection in my future job up at Idaho National Labs with what we still do here at Platform One. So while that's a regret, I plan to fix that in the future and see if I can launch Big Bang up at Idaho National Labs.
That's cool. I like that you're still taking it even to your next.
No, absolutely. Software, yeah. There's a lot of places in the Air Force where I think we can really assist, and it's because while Platform One and Big Bang is well known, in some areas it's still unknown in many others. I had the other day, I guess it's been a few weeks ago now. So we did an interview, and I've done a lot of interviews, and I think part of Platform One, part of our mission, part of our goal is to actually drive a narrative, and so to do that, you have to do interviews, you have to get your message out there, you have to do LinkedIn posts, you have to do all that, right? And so I did an interview, and this is the first time I actually also got a request to do a photo shoot with the interview, which I was completely unprepared for. And it's also the first time I've seen, so we've had a lot of digital print, right, out there in web posts, but this is the first time where they sent me a magazine after with the article in it, and me being on the page, a full page, my photo on the full page of the magazine. And that made me, I was like, wow, now I'm really uncomfortable.
So yeah, were you at least in collared shirt, or was
I was in uniform.
Oh, okay.
I was in uniform, so, but yeah.
I was going to say, you rolled up with a cold P1 shirt with some stains on it.
I should have. But no, it was a really good article they put together. It was really kind of focused on greater than just Platform One in the Air Force. It was focused on DevSecOps across the DoD and how Platform One also teams with the Navy. We support the Army. And just again that partnership, that community, that teaming to be able to advance software across that space.
What are you most excited about in your new venture, which I'm sure you touched a little bit about?
I've always been excited about the next job. We typically, as officers, we're only in one place for probably 2 to 4 years. So it's bittersweet leaving Platform One. I love the organization, love the people, love the connection to the mission. The sweet part is moving on to a new adventure. Being able to go get technical again, kind of brush up on those engineering skills before heading into my next assignment. So I'm headed up to Idaho National Labs for a year to do a fellowship up there, and then I couldn't have probably picked better timing. The Air Force is going through an optimization for great power competition. Over I think of the next 12 months, a lot of that will solidify. And so coming out of the back end of that fellowship, I think there's just going to be a lot of opportunity to bring my experiences to a program out there. I hope to stay in the software space somewhere. I think that's pretty easy to do in today's environment. Most weapon systems are based on software. And so being able to kind of exit in about 11 months, 12 months into a re-optimized Air Force to get after this great power competition and kind of seeing where I land and fit is pretty exciting. So, the 2 moves in 2 years is going to be a little bit of a strain on the family, but I think it's a perfect time to be able to go get technical, brush up on those skills again, and then apply those somewhere in the Air Force to accelerate a program.
Nice. So I do have, this is just a personal last question. We're seeing incredible strides in AI, and I have to know what your thoughts are, AI in the software world, and if it has, or if it will ever see a place in DevSecOps, or if it's just too much of a risk, or how you feel about it.
No, AI is inevitable, right? I'll start with AI is a very overloaded term. It's a new term. that I would say has entered the space in the past year or two. And like with most labels, they become overloaded really, really quickly. So whether you're talking large language models, LLMs, or machine learning operations, artificial intelligence, right? Like all of those things mean many different things to many different people. I think that the concept of assisted DevSecOps and that assistance being provided by some large language models, it is inevitable future. Like with any technology though, there's risk, right? Like, and there's some unknowns. I mean, if you think like pre and post computer, it's just, it's a disruptive technology. It's something that disrupted the status quo. And just like with any tool, we had to learn how to use it, how to apply it. I think when you talk about drones and some of the things that they do in warfare today is another thing. It started with like a great fear. And then over time, we get more comfortable with the technology. We learn how to put limits on it and guardrails so we can use it correctly. And I think AI is not going to be any different. We're going to have to apply it as a tool in the appropriate places, understand it as a tool, and manage that tool appropriately. So like with any great capability comes great risk. I think what we need to make sure is that we are able to adopt that technology at the pace of our adversaries, so they don't outpace us in that area.
Makes sense. Sweet. I mean, I think that's everything I got for you. Unless you've got some final thoughts.
No, I think I've said all my thoughts.
I'm sure you're tired of talking to me.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. Hey, I appreciate everything you're doing as well.
I appreciate you coming and sitting down with me.
Yeah, getting that message out, and you do a great job editing.
I appreciate it. It's